Welcome to the Business of Apparel podcast. This is the place to learn how to start and scale your own apparel brand and fill it with loyal customers for years to come. I'm your host, Rachel Erickson, owner and CEO of Unmarked Street. I can't wait to share this episode with you. Welcome back to the Business of Apparel podcast. Today, I'm super excited to introduce Marge and Tirsa, who are the co-owners of the Fashion Index. And so we are going to learn all about the Fashion Index today. But what I wanted to kind of start with was about a year ago, I joined the Fashion Index and I was introduced to Tirsa and Marge, and we did like this wonderful Instagram live. Thank you guys for having me on at that time. And when we were prepping for that, like Tirsa and I kind of got on and realized we know like all the same people. And I just kind of this was just such a funny little anecdote that like our industry is so small. It's really funny. Like it seems big, but yes, so many people know all the same people. It's just really funny. But welcome. I'm so glad to have you guys here today.
Thank you. Oh, and we love it. We love following you, Rachel. You have the best content. Love it.
Thank you so much. We're trying.
Really. It's fantastic. Yeah. We use you as an example when we're talking to people.
Oh.
We're always like, we don't just meet like regular people. Like you have to watch Rachel's fittings. Like she's fitting on a bike. Like it's so cool.
That was cool. Yeah. So that was a cool video.
Very good. But that's the life when you're fitting, when you're doing, racing gear and stuff like that, and that's you and Tirsa's your history.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's just so interesting.
Yeah. Fitting the body in motion is definitely kind of a different beast than just fitting someone standing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd love for you guys to just start, like, how did you guys meet and how was the Fashion Index born? Tell me all about it.
You're gonna love this story,
I'm so excited.
We were roommates in college, and so we literally met each other like right away, and first thing. But as freshmen, we weren't roommates. We showed up, and she was right across the hall, and I was moving into my room, and all of a sudden, I heard the laugh.
Yeah.
I said, "Oh my gosh, that's Marge!" And then I looked, and her door was open, and she was right across the
No
hall.
way.
Like storybook from then on. We just became best buddies.
That's so cool.
And still really close to two other friends in Marge, and we both got into the industry and had a degree in fashion design and merchandising, and both ended up working from design forward just because we wanted to learn more about it. And that's where our journey just kind of accelerated from there.
So cool. Mm-hmm. Wow. So you guys go way back.
Oh, we go way back. We have dirt on each other.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, Tirsa is funny. Tirsa has been a lifelong sewer. Like she just grew up learning how to sew. I was the farthest thing from that you could ever imagine. So I was her worst nightmare in college because it'd be like 3 a.m. I'd be like, I can't figure out how to put the two seams together. You know what I mean? Like I was the worst.
And God bless Marge's parents. They were so helpful to her, even when they weren't really sure what they were doing. They were there in our living room trying to help her figure things out. And I would wake up and I was like, what are you guys doing? And they're just like meticulously working on something on the floor. And then they're like, we're trying to figure this thing out. And I'm like, oh, well, you just do this and this and whatever. And I went back to bed. She was God.
She just knew how to do everything. It was so easy for her. It was like the worst.
I feel like that's such like a typical like fashion design school story. Like the people like who end up getting really hooked up as like really good friends end up always being like someone who is like a sew pro and someone who needs like that sew pro to really help them all the time. Like that was me in college too. Like definitely hung out like late night with the girls who needed help because I'd been sewing since I was 7. And so I had come in kind of in the same way as to you, Tirsa. And then like it just created these like beautiful friendships. It was really fun.
Yeah, it was great.
The college friendships are like lifelong. And, and Marge and I only crossed paths in one company through our whole journey of working. Wow. And then I moved to California. And so then I was on this whole other journey. And worked in the motocross industry and all of that stuff. So,
which was a totally different animal. I mean, I don't know that we would have known as much as we knew if Tirsa hadn't gone out west. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it just wasn't our world. Our world was women's wear, and menswear, children's, but like definitely not the sports industry. You know what I mean?
It's a different beast. Yeah.
Totally. It was wild. So, so we got great experience, but like, this is also so interesting because in every company that I worked in, so Tirsa and I both got started right out of college with production jobs. And I think it was because of our internships. I mean, my internships were never creative. They were always on the production side because there was many more production openings than there were design openings.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I got my first job because of, doing production, and I loved it. It was actually great because I knew how to tell people how to do things, but I just technically, if you put me at the machine, I would get it done in 16 hours, but I would get it done.
Sure. Yes.
Yeah. So I actually had a design job for a very short window, and I realized like I could design really great apparel, but I just didn't know how to take, because we were taught, and I'm sure you were as well, the couture way of doing everything.
By
so
hand.
I was like, how do I take all that knowledge that I have and make it into something that's manufacturable for the mass market and bring it to life? And I was like, frankly, I'm done paying for school. I'm going to job and I'm going to let somebody teach me on the job.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's exactly what it was like. It was great. I love the industry. I think it's in your blood when it's, when it's what you want to do, it's in your blood. We've had, Tirsa and I both have had interesting careers in that when we stopped working for big corporations, we would go and consult.
Okay. Great. That's amazing.
And almost always in consulting situations, you find that something has gone south for somebody before they met you. Like they have taken the wrong step and invested money in the wrong place, or
worked with somebody who treated them really poorly or did a really bad job.
Yeah. Things like that have happened. And so I had that experience. Tirsa had that experience. And then in 2020, during COVID, like it was around April, she and I had the same thing happening. Everyone knowing that we've been in the business and everyone being at home, it's like all of the people that we knew in the business or not were like, where are the fabrics? Where are the factories? Where's all the elastic? Where can I buy elastic? You know what I mean? Like, 'cause everyone wants to make masks. And we were like, you know what? Like, it shouldn't be so hard to find this information. Like you can Google it, of course, but if you're on page 3 of Google, you're never, ever going to be found.
Yeah.
And we were like, let's just like build this thing where we can like make it easy for everyone to find anything that they need.
I love that.
Like the library, but for the industry.
It's so good.
So that was how Fashion Index was born.
Yeah. And one of the resources that is particularly hard to find are all of those human resources, because a lot are individual contributors, which means they're running around doing great things, making patterns, designing things or whatever, but they don't really spend a lot of time marketing themselves, or they don't know how. Right. And so we wanted to have we want to have a place where all of these businesses that are right sized for you can be found.
Yeah.
And we didn't want it to be a secret, and I always liken this to think of babysitters. Like, you trust them with your children. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
But now, and you're not telling people you should call my babysitter because you want them on your Friday night.
Like, keep them to yourself.
Same thing if you're a patternmaker or the best or the best whatever. You're not telling everybody that they're out there, and so they're like, how do I get more clients?
That's true.
Right? Because I need more clients. I love you, but I need more of you. And so we wanted to, help them get found.
It's so true. It's so true. One of the best pattern makers I've ever worked with and one of the best designers I've ever worked with have zero social media. They don't even have a website. Like, they don't do any marketing, and they basically just get referrals because of how good they are. But exactly what you were saying, like, that's just not their bread and butter. They'd rather be designing and making patterns.
And they should be. And so,
they should be.
Or to advocate for them, get to know them, advocate for them, and just help them have a better business.
That's so cool.
Yeah, get more business.
I love that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about, I'm sure there are plenty of these, but if you could maybe give us some great examples of like success stories that you guys have seen through the Fashion Index, of people who maybe were looking for clients or looking for those individual contributors, and how that's kind of worked out.
Yeah, we have a couple of both that we were trying to talk before. So there's a person who's using our platform who is starting a golf line, and she went to design school, so she has all the design knowledge and can do all of that. But she was like, I don't know where to find the rest of it.
Yeah.
Using Fashion Index to find her resources, the fabric suppliers, the manufacturers, put her onto a pattern maker that she's absolutely wild about.
That's awesome.
And she's well on her way, and now she just needs to like pull the trigger and basically do it.
So cool.
Which is pretty for her. Pretty exciting for her. We also have listers who are on our platform who have done lives with us and immediately turned around and got new clients and
like
nice
immediately.
We have other listers, and I think this is a perfect example. Not only is she getting more business from our platform, but she has been able to connect with the community on Fashion Index.
That's so cool.
And started working with the factory, started working with some of the other facilities and some of the human resources that we were just talking about. Marge got the best voicemail from her not long ago that was like, I absolutely love the Fashion Index, and these contacts are so amazing.
So good.
And yeah.
She's like, I went and called one of the factories, and I can actually be her graphic design person. And she needs that. So she's like, now we're working together. It's like fantastic.
That's so great.
Know what I mean? And that's what you want. That's exactly why we started it.
Yeah.
So when you hear these stories, you're like, awesome. That's exactly what we
want. You guys are helping so many people. It's amazing. Are those people who are seeing success, are they like, how are they engaging? Like, are they doing something different? Are they?
I think it honestly is using the resources.
Sure.
Right. This is interesting because the people who following us through, we send out our email blasts to let people know when we're going live, or when we're doing this. And the people who actually jump on are usually the ones who somehow wind up connecting.
Gotcha.
And so maybe that's through the email, connection. Maybe it's through, but I definitely know that like just reaching out. We have one of our good friends. She calls it like the rabbit hole, the Fashion Index rabbit hole. She's like, I just get on there and I literally, I'm on it for hours because I'm like, oh my God, look at that one. And the greatest thing is you can favorite people so you can go back to them.
That's cool.
And you don't have to like search through it again. But she's like, I just call it the Fashion Index rabbit hole because whenever I get on, that's what and that's, I think, how you find also the people that you connect with, part of the benefit of having the videos, which you probably know yourself, Rachel, is people feel a personal connection, either like you're for them or you're not, like, it's just not my, kind of cup of tea, whatever. And that's what I think is the best thing about the videos, because people feel that like connection and like, okay, this is the person I got to reach out to. You know what I mean? Like, because of this, that, or the other reason,
Definitely.
Yeah. And there's so many people and businesses on our platform that are like-minded, meaning like we personally have a mission, two things. One is we really want people to start making product more local to them. There's so many benefits to that, from hiring your neighbor, which is, helping your community at large, because they're going to then have more income and be able to hire more people, et cetera, to the time that's saved by doing things locally means that you can be more accurate with the quantities that you're purchasing, right? The more local you are, the more time you save. And then the other one is to do product in a sustainable way with sustainable materials. And it really resonates across all of the listeners that are on our platform, which just means that they already have something in common. So the commonality really pulls everyone together, and we give you a chance to really try to get to know each other through our email campaigns, through our social media. We try to highlight all of our listeners. We do the live interviews. We also spend a ton of time doing education in our blog series For anything from, are you ready to make a sample? Like, should I be calling a factory and talking about manufacturing, or did I forget half the steps beforehand?
Sure.
You know, sure you're fully prepared, to really following the future trends of the industry. From they just had the first AI Fashion Week, and following that process through, which was super exciting and amazing.
So exciting.
And all those designers and all the great things there. And then just to celebrating women for women. We're actually doing an article right now on AAPI, and it will come out in a couple of days.
Very cool.
Just super fun things to celebrate diversity and inclusivity. And so we try to make sure that we're sharing all of the knowledge that we have so that it betters everybody who's participating.
I think that's so wonderful. And I think I've been finding that too, kind of as I've been meeting people throughout the industry and in different ways on platforms. Number one, I want to say, as a small business owner, one thing that they teach you if you go into like coaching or anything like that is like engagement is number one always. And so it absolutely makes sense that like engaging on your platform is the way to go, and it's the way to use it.
Search for people.
Totally. Yeah. And then I also just think there is like this huge like-mindedness about sustainability and about DEI within our industry, and trying to promote that and get that to move forward. So it is really beautiful to see. It's, when you take this like really big step back and you look at the fashion design industry, from a world view, it looks like it's it's almost like such an offender or a polluter in the way of sustainability in the world. But when you really like look in at the people who are working within the industry, I think there is a huge shift and like a huge movement coming toward remedying that in every way that we possibly can.
This generation, honestly, that is kind of like, I would say that like 25 and under, it's almost like they're not taking it anymore.
Yeah.
And they're not going to they don't want to be stuck with this problem. They won't support companies, like Shein, like H&M, whoever's like overproducing. They're like, and then to hear that they're using it for fuel because they can't sell garments, like it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I know that I have 3 daughters in their 20s. They will not put up with it. And they won't purchase from companies it's just, and that's just an example of the generation.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is.
I think it's great. It's needed.
And Tirsa knows, even her son, same thing. The whole generation is just, so it's great in a way, because I feel like we're all on the cutting edge of that.
Yeah.
And getting ahead of it. I do feel like the industry is making strides. They really are. Oh, what's by 2030, is it that they have to cut emissions by 50%?
Europe has much tighter restrictions than the U.S. has, and then is pulling out of certain things, the government's decisions. But companies are really invested in the reduction. And it's not because they have this altruistic whatever, but it's really being driven by consumers, where consumers like, oh, I want to make sure that this is it, and can't get away with greenwashing, because people we're doing research and we just won't buy from you.
Exactly.
Like, we won't buy from you. And so, it's kind of like, fashion comes from couture down sometimes, but it also comes from the street. Well, this is the street talking and saying, no, you have to push this up the food chain because things are different, things have to change. And, there's a lot of things, really great things that are happening. You have to think, 15 years ago, I would talk to companies, and I was in charge of supply chain, and I was asking for some transparency, and they looked at me like I wanted to see their underwear. I'm like, I know that you need to make money. You deserve to make money. Everybody needs to profit. Otherwise, why are we in this industry? But I want to understand where the costs are coming from so that I can say, yes, that's where I should be spending my money.
Yeah.
And it's a long time for me to get that transparency from them. And now it's the same thing, where we're demanding that they look at their supply chains and how things are happening, and start doing things differently and smarter, and start, taking care of the environment. Don't put your water back out into the streams before you clean.
Right.
It's like don't leave the bathroom without washing your hands.
Yeah.
The truth.
But that's it. It's taking care. Like, okay, I have to use X water. I'm going to take care of the water, and then it can go back into the system, or frankly, I can reuse it in a circular method.
Yeah, exactly. And there have been like wonderful facilities doing that for decades now. So the technology is there. It's absolutely capable to be done everywhere.
For sure.
You know, if you think about it, though, to be fair to those businesses, one, nobody made them do it. And two, it's an investment. So somebody has to say it's important enough for us, if we're going to use your company, that you need to invest in it so that we can continue working with you. But if you're going to say, well, we'll just continue to work with you regardless, why would they invest?
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, at some point it becomes a poor business decision not to invest because of exactly what you guys are talking about. The customer wants that. They want the transparency. They want the sustainability. So if you don't make the investment, you're gonna eventually at some point start to see, missing revenue.
It's gonna hit your bottom line. Exactly, for sure.
Well, and the thing is as solutions, because there's not only solutions in just the water we're talking about, in the materials that we're utilizing to make apparel. As they become more common, it becomes more affordable.
It does.
Across the whole thing. And so something that was out of reach is now within, or have mass adoption.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Almost to that point, but not quite where it's mass adoption and the price point is coming down. But it ultimately we're going, and there's so many companies who see it as an opportunity. Tons of, like you said, Rachel, tons of research that's happening from all different directions on how to use less water when growing cotton, because cotton's still a thing, to the different materials, to utilizing
denim. What about denim?
Denim's huge.
I mean, denim being one of the biggest offenders. But almost every factory that I used to use, it's like you said. So when I was making denim, like let's say back in 2008 and 2010, I was at the factories when they were dumping that water into the river.
And it's so blue. It's like, it's the craziest color. Yeah.
Horrible.
Yeah.
But that was also because laser washing had just come out. The technology was astronomical. I think at the time I had only 2 factories that had the laser washing, but also the efficiency wasn't there. I couldn't get as much through a laser machine as I could if I was doing the traditional wash method, right?
Right.
Yeah. So you can liken it for those who don't understand what you're talking about. Liken it to printers. Remember when they used to go?
Yes. Yeah. That's a really good way of explaining that. Yeah.
But the technology has accelerated to a point where it's much more efficient. Where it goes,
and now if your print isn't printed in less than a half of a second, you're like, what the hell is taking so long?
Yeah. Yeah.
But like you're right. That's how the denim is. And every facility that I used to use, everyone is only using laser now.
Which is great.
And I love it because from a social media standpoint, they're representing such large companies that they have to show publicly what they're doing. So they're recording their factories. They're showing you the wash process. They're showing you that there's no water being used.
Yep.
I mean, and that is honestly just refreshing because it's like you said, Tirsa, like the balance, like because of the demand, the prices were able to come down and more people able to purchase the equipment. And now the factories can actually be responsibly producing this and not harming everyone in the community.
Yeah.
Right. And we all love our jeans, right? We love our jean jackets, our but it was one of the worst materials from the cotton to then how you get all the finishes on it. So to see that part of the market making that huge change is wonderful.
Yeah, I remember one of the first times I ever visited a denim factory, they were like in the process of shutting down their sandblasting area.
Oh yeah.
Which was another like huge offender. It was like not just toxic to the environment, to all of the workers who were there too. It was a crazy practice. There's a lot that goes into making denim that was never very transparent at the time, but things have
you know what? Also, shifted. You can't blame people for what they didn't know.
True,
totally. I mean, I feel like number one, if you know denim people, mostly guys, but people who work in the factories, they consider themselves like artists,
and they are. To be honest,
every piece of denim that they're making, I can't tell you the pride. Like, it's not just a matter of they're just, I mean, the process is fast and they're good at it and they're good at doing it fast, but they're very, very proud.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's almost like being like, I guess, like in a way, an auto mechanic where like, maybe the oils and the fumes and stuff aren't good for you, but like you love your business. You know what I mean? And so they just do it.
Whatever it is.
That is super true. Yeah. Right before we jumped on here, Marge and I were kind of talking about this really interesting topic where, Marge, you were telling me about a couple different companies who had kind of come into the fashion index and you guys were getting to know them. Yeah. And I've experienced this too on the consulting side of the business where I'm working with people who don't really have apparel backgrounds. They're coming from so many different places and then feeling like they can come in and create these apparel brands. And some of them have immediate success and do a great job. And some of them find out really fast that it's not really the easiest industry to just come into and figure out right away. And so I'd love to kind of just chat with you guys a little bit too about, it's not an easy industry. It can be a really difficult process, and kind of your experience with that with your followers.
Well, I could say that what I feel like I keep seeing over and over again are a couple of different things. If you have deep pockets and you can invest in a full service agency to do your product development, then your rate of success is faster and usually more successful, only because the people who generally are starting a company like that, number one, they're business people. Like, they're in it. They're like, okay, this is a widget.
Yep.
And this is the widget we're investing in. And we're going to find that right full service agency, and we're going to, start our line with them. But we're doing sales and we're doing marketing. You know what I mean? And they know how to do that. And that's, Rachel and I were talking about one, that's just like one end of the spectrum. There's one of our companies that are subscribed to Fashion Index are super successful three brothers. Shock that, like, I find every story shocking because it's just fun to find out these really interesting things about all these companies. And three brothers, not one of them in fashion, but all business majors and all, very good at marketing and had a niche. They knew what their market was, and started out with one store, an online business, and working with a full service agency. The agency did the product, they did the product approvals and stuff like that, but they really handled the product. And these guys just went out and marketed. And now they have 6 retail stores and a huge online business. I mean, and this isn't a matter of, I think it's under 5 years that they've been in business.
Wow.
It's just a great success story. And then there's other companies. Well, we learn about these more from the companies that are listed on Fashion Index also. Some of our coaches and consultants on Fashion Index who come to us and tell us, like, some bad stories that have happened, and then all of a sudden the person winds up finding them somehow, usually through, some kind of a social media or something like that. And then those are like the stories where you kind of put the cart before the horse, and there's a certain process to follow. Yeah. And as long as you follow the process, you'll definitely find success. But you'll also know that you're doing things in the right order.
Yes.
And so that's a lot of the kind of stories we hear. But I'm telling you, with all the subscribers on our platform, when I look up the companies, I'm like, that's a great idea. Like, every time you think that everything's been thought of already, and you're like, oh, there's no new, oh my God, no, people have the best ideas, and they are just, and they're successful. That's also what I love, is how many young companies, they just know their market.
Yeah.
They know their market, and they are like going after it. You know what I mean?
So cool.
Yeah, it really is. I met this girl at Magic last year. I mean, I'm telling you, like, piercings and tattoos. I could barely, see her. And I was like, I just have to talk to you. Like, what do you do? Like, what are you doing here? But what do you do? And she went on, she told me she has a crazy amazing business. I was like, you go. Like, she just knows her market, you know what I mean? And she knows how to get them the product that they want.
That's amazing. Such a cool story.
It was very cool. I was like in awe. I was like, and like, it's funny because she was the boss. She owned the company. And like, she had like 9 people with her, and they all, it was like I don't know how to say it, like, you know, they all had the same things, like the big holes in their ears and all sorts of stuff, but they all were on her team. She has a killer business.
Amazing.
It was so cool. I was like, man.
It is a very cool industry in that it like, it's for everybody, because clothes are for everybody. You know, everybody has an opinion about apparel because we all have a relationship with it in some way. And so it really does welcome such a wide array of people.
I've been talking to people lately. The opportunity to pause that everybody had during COVID. Some people became hermits, and some people but whatever, they became introspective. And, I think people know themselves a lot better than they've ever known themselves before, and identify what they're really passionate about. And if you were a dutiful kid and you went off to engineering school because that's what you think your parents wanted you to do, but you really had this passion inside of doing apparel, it's never too late to
so true.
Bust out and fall. And because you didn't go to school, maybe hiring a coach or a mentor would be like a very advantageous. Honestly, anybody, even if you're from the industry, would benefit from that. But especially coming from outside the industry, having somebody who has the in-there knowledge, who can kind of help you along the way it's an investment in your future for sure, but it's going to save you money in the long run.
It is. Yeah.
Save you money in the long run because you're going to make so many less mistakes. Right. I was just hanging out with a friend who made an apparel line. And I knew he made an apparel line, but he never knew what I did. And he was like, oh my God, if I had known what you did 5 years ago, you would have saved me so much money. We were talking about where he was trying to manufacture. And I said, how did that work out? And he's like, not so great. And I said, yeah, because of this and this, whatever. You should have done it in this country. And he's like I said, I should have talked to you 5 years ago. But that's the information that we really do want to share out there, to give the advice and the direction. And that's what Fashion Index's community is about, is the shareability, and knowing that if you're working with a lister on our platform, we've already vetted them with our experience. So we know that they know what they're doing.
I love that.
Right.
It's so good. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on today and just chatting with me. For any of you listening who are interested in joining the Fashion Index, just go to fashionindex.com, right?
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes, definitely. Check it out.
Yeah.
Go down that rabbit hole.
Yes.
And it's free to use Fashion Index. Just go search it. Go reach it out and find Rachel and find, tons of great companies on there who can help you get your product that you need.
Amazing. Well, thank you guys for doing all that you do. It's just so cool to have you guys pulling everybody together and creating this community. It's something I've talked about quite a bit over the last year, just needing community. And this is such a beautiful idea. It's just such a beautiful company. So congratulations to you guys, and thank you.
Thanks, Rachel. All right, have a good one. Thank you so much for having us on.
Of course.
Work, it's fun every day.
Yeah, it is. Yes. Definitely. Thank you guys again. Thank you so much for listening to the Business of Apparel podcast. I would so appreciate hearing your thoughts on the show. And if you know someone who could benefit from it, please share it with them. My biggest desire is to help other apparel professionals understand the nuances of our industry so we can all work toward making better product for a better world. If you would like to connect further, I'd love to invite you to send me a message through my website, unmarkstreet.com, where I do weekly trainings through my video channel, a monthly newsletter, and offer so many resources to help you start and scale a profitable apparel brand.